And now the Department of Justice is investigating Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Frey in a criminal case, subpoenaing them over accusations that they stood in the way of ongoing immigration enforcement. Governor Walz saying in a statement that the DOJ is weaponizing the justice system and that the only person not being investigated for the shooting of Renee Good is the federal agent who shot her. Meanwhile, Mayor Frey is accusing the DOJ of intimidating him for standing up for Minneapolis, saying neither the city nor the country will succumb to this fear. Joining us now live to talk about the legal ramifications, we have veteran criminal defense and civil rights attorney Mark Reichel. Mark, always good to see you. And I want to ask about this. We are awaiting more details about the investigation. We do see White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller already accusing Walz and Frey of abetting and encouraging protests on Thursday, adding that there was a, quote, insurgency against the federal government coming from Minnesota. Does the DOJ have grounds for an investigation here?
They're entitled to investigate anything they want. That's how the U.S. Constitution was set up. It was set up for a very small federal prosecution arm. That's how the Constitution in 1789 was written. As a result, there's no real directions. There's no real constraint. So, and we also believe that the grand jury, federal grand juries, are entitled to everyone's evidence in America, subject to privileges and so forth. But so they're really able to do phishing investigations anytime they want. And here, you know, to prove the crime of obstruction, in this statute, involves force. There has to be threat of force to attack these ICE officers. And a person attacking him is one thing. But if you're going to say conspiracy or aiding and abetting, they have to, this would be Governor Walz or the mayor, they have to intend violence to happen, and they have to believe it's going to happen, and they have to hope it's going to happen, and it actually has to happen based on what they said. I don't think this is the best use of federal resources, but they're entitled to make any investigation they want.
They're entitled to. It doesn't sound like you think from the information we have so far that it has risen to that level or meets that bar. Is that correct?
Well, to investigate, Natasha, they can do whatever. They don't have to have anything. They don't have a suspicion. They can have a trifle floating in the air and go investigate. But before you can charge federally, they have a checklist that it's called a prosecution memo that has to identify a federal interest that will be vindicated by this prosecution. And the charge here would be for obstructing or assaulting these officers, interfering with these officers by force, not standing on the sidelines and yelling at them, but interfering by force. And the person that is conspiring has to know they're going to use the force, hope that they do, and that person has to actually use the force. So in a long way of answering your question, I don't think there's really going to be any charges here. I think it's just a threat. It's just a political weapon.
I appreciate you cutting through that for us. I do want to talk about the Insurrection Act. Earlier this week, President Trump saying he may invoke it in Minnesota before seeming to walk it back. Does he have the legal grounds to do this?
It's really difficult to constrain the executive branch, so he can do it. The Insurrection Act is obviously a great idea when we came up with it, but we entrust our executive branch, we entrust our president to only use it when needed. We know it in my lifetime it's been used. I mean, it was used in Los Angeles, but those are real riots. Everything was burning down and so forth.
Yeah, I think you're referencing the LA riots over Rodney King in 1992, and this is an 18th century law. It hasn't been used in more than 3 decades. If